My name is Madeline McDowell, and for my midterm, I did some research on an application that was called Hurricane Party. And after I did some initial investigation, I realized that there was a subsequent app that was created by the same company called Forecast Social. And I think the story that I found through my research was pretty interesting because it was kind of like a double whammy. So I thought that it was imperative that I include both in my project. So just to get started a little bit, it's basically the story about two social media applications that had a lot of promise and a lot of support and just didn't really turn into anything. There are a lot of reasons why, but I think that the fact that while maybe these apps didn't have the hype that something like Google Glass or Friendster or Second Life had, they definitely had hype from tech companies, the people that matter, the people that sort of like instill the public with these opinions on what applications should be and what they should provide. So the fact that both of these applications had support from platforms like Facebook and Foursquare made it seem like they were going to have some promise, like they were really going to deliver on something, when in fact it turned out almost exactly the opposite. So we're just going to delve into why this happened. Was this a case of a good idea that was just executed poorly, or did the hype just pass and there was nothing that they could do about it? So let's find out. First, the first application that came about was Hurricane Party. It was created in 2010 and premiered at the Interactive Media Festival at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas in 2011. The main premise behind Hurricane Party was that it harnessed the power of like the spontaneity of a party. So what they wanted to do was basically remove the necessity for an invite. So if someone decided to go out tonight, you could see that that's where they were going. They were going to host a party at this location, and instead of having them to remember to text you or text every single person that they know, they would just see this on Hurricane Party and immediately want to go. But the way that Hurricane Party made this so powerful and maybe good for areas like Austin, Texas, was that they partnered with local restaurants and bars or just hangouts to create like discounts and specials. So if you were to go to a show or schedule a dinner or something, it would have a certain percentage off or some sort of discount so that it would basically encourage you and your friends to keep coming back and having parties here. So I'm going to let the CEO of Hurricane Party tell you what it's all about, just so you can get a little bit of extra info.
Hi, I'm Renee Pinnell, CEO of Hurricane Party. Hurricane Party is a mobile application that helps friends find and create spontaneous get-togethers. So if you're hanging out with your buddies, and it's awesome, but what would be even more cool is if all your friends were there. Well, you fire up Hurricane Party, and it automatically looks for your favorite friends to invite, and pa-ching, they get a text message, they show up. I started Hurricane Party as a project in my master's degree program here at the university in design, and it was actually the first day of class I came up with this idea with a friend of mine who's also in the department, and I should have just stopped there because I basically spent the rest of the year working on Hurricane Party and nothing else. It's an app that I always wanted to have for myself because I love hanging out with my friends, but I always feel like there's these parties that I hear about that for whatever reason, I got left off the text invite list or the email list, and that always bothered me. And I always wanted to be able to find out where everything cool was happening in Austin, so I'd never have to worry about missing that that sweet after party. And that's basically what our app does. Is it makes sure that you'll never miss that awesome after party. So Capital Factory gives you a couple of things. First thing they give you is obviously they give you $20,000. Second thing is they give you a bunch of free stuff like office space, as well as some free services like graphic design, legal services, and all that is super helpful. But without a doubt, the most helpful thing that Capital Factory does is they give you mentorship. 20 of the smartest people in Austin help you develop your idea into a viable business, and really that's invaluable. So my experience at Capital Factory has been a whole lot of ball busting. These mentors they're tough on you. They're real hard on you, but it's tough love. They want your idea to really work. They want it to succeed in the marketplace, and you got to be pretty tough to make it out there. And they give you the kind of critical feedback you need to not get wrapped up in your own head. Because you get so nose to the grindstone when you're working on a problem. You really need to have some people who are super smart, who've been there before, to help guide you through the ups and downs that starting a company up has. I totally recommend Capital Factory to anybody that has an idea that they want to see out in the world. Without a doubt, Capital Factory was the difference between just an idea and an actual company.
Hurricane Party was definitely made for a more adult range of people. I would say anywhere from the 21 to 35 range. It's pretty much men and women alike, but it's people that want to go out to bars and people that want to go out to restaurants, not only on weekends but during the week. This could probably also be relevant for college students because it could be something like you could suggest study parties or something like that where you could still get the discounts of all of you being together. I think that the best thing to describe Hurricane Party was it was an application that meets natural phenomena, and that's exactly what it is. It wanted to take advantage of those situations where you're just like, hey, I want to get everybody together, but also lets you plan a little bit further ahead so that people can know that, hey, we're going to have someone's birthday party tonight, or hey, we're going to go listen to this album somewhere. So it's definitely a relevant app that harnessed a lot of good things from other applications while still being different enough in most regards. Then we meet the second son, meet Forecast Social. It's an application that legitimately looks like Foursquare and Facebook had a baby. And the intention was to create sort of like a future itinerary of fun. It was basically meant to, another pun on weather, forecast your future plans, and basically it would notify your friends for you. It was almost like the human piggyback. So if I tell someone that I'm going to go have lunch at Panera, I can say that, and then people can meet up with me there without me even inviting them. It's legitimately like letting someone eavesdrop or just like sort of piggyback up on your friends and what you guys are doing. And so we have reached the hype. And the hype for both of these apps was up, up, up. At the time that Hurricane Party premiered at South by Southwest in 2011, it was the number one app that you could get. Everybody was talking about it. It beat out apps in a user poll for best application of the festival. It beat out Uber, it beat out Instagram, it beat out GroupMe, apps that right now are huge. They are changing the way that we talk to people. They are changing the way that we get around. It's just become very big. So let's keep delving into why Hurricane Party got this and why Forecast had so much of this hype, and we're going to relate that to the hype cycle. The technology trigger is where we begin, and let me tell you, Hurricane Party and Forecast hit it off really, really well by starting at South by Southwest. It's a place where you can have hundreds of thousands of people know about your product and know what it can do, and you can implement it on all of those people that are around you. The beta was present during South by Southwest, and what a great atmosphere for you to bring an application like that to. The entire week is literally just one big spontaneous thing. Sure, there's a lot of planned things, but it's just, there's so much opportunity for things to be happening, and these two applications harness that, or they should have. So let's start in with what these apps did right. Both of these applications had a lot of hype from websites such as TechCrunch, Mashable, TechTalk, and even the New York Times. So beyond any hype that they got from South by Southwest, they started the hype on their own pretty much. Hurricane Party did a lot of things right. It had a purpose. It connected people in a spontaneous way. It had the ability to adapt. Just like Foursquare could have adapted, or even Facebook, this is definitely something that could have grown, like an idea that could have grown into something much more grand as the time passed. It had hype from some of the best forums for interactive media in the country, which it absolutely did, and it created more hype as time passed by. And it was understandable. It's something that we can all grasp and something that we all want, which is to actually be social. And that is something that all of these companies, when they wrote articles about the hype behind these apps, talked about how it was all something that we wanted. It was all a social network to be social with, which is exactly what the public wanted, and that showed at South by Southwest. Additionally, for Forecast, it was basically a copycat on not only Hurricane Party, but Foursquare and Facebook. So not necessarily in a bad way. It uses features from highly profitable apps, making them more so quote-unquote partners than competition, which is true. They basically have their approval. Do you see how the applications look? It had purpose as well, the same exact reasons as Hurricane Party. They're very similar, but it works in separate ways. And additionally, it's understandable. It keeps going on the same purpose, which is exactly what an application should do to be good. Find a purpose and build upon that. So if they had all of this, where did they start to go wrong? What was that failure? I feel as if these two applications followed the hype cycle of technology incredibly closely. Hurricane Party definitely made it all the way through the trough of disillusionment, which can essentially be summarized as people just never gained the interest, or they lost interest after the application failed to deliver. And as we delve deeper, that's exactly what happened to Hurricane Party. It took a good idea and it didn't turn it into anything because it just never made it through that portion of the cycle. It never got to get to the slope of enlightenment to where they would fix things because of that initial almost refusal to change things and make it better for the public. Additionally, with all of this hype, you would think that they would have the money and the resources and the people wanting to help them to get them to that next level, but it turned out that Hurricane Party only gained 3,000 users before they shut down, so there are definitely some reasons behind why that happened. And if we continue on with Forecast, they learned from a couple of mistakes that were made with Hurricane Party, but they slowly died after they reached the slope of enlightenment. They couldn't even get to the plateau because they just didn't have the resources. They were a copycat. They couldn't improve upon someone else's purpose, whether that purpose was from Hurricane Party or from Facebook or from Foursquare. While it did gain a larger following from 3,000 to 35,000 users, it just essentially failed to be adopted by the public. It just couldn't make it through. Alright, so let's delve deeper into what they did wrong, because it can be summed up pretty well. With Hurricane Party, I think the number one thing that went wrong was after they got all of this hype from South by Southwest, they had no quality marketing. If you're not going to market your product, someone's not going to use it. Eventually, you will become old news, even if you did win Best App. You need to market your product, and that's why they only gained 3,000 users. Once you gain users, you can count on earned media to help push your product to other users by using peer pressure tactics or any sort of strategic marketing campaigns. But if you fail to do that, you're going to be shut down, which is what happened to Hurricane Party. And essentially, it wasn't better than Foursquare, which was its primary competition. So the fact that they continue to build on this, we want to, for lack of a better term, copy Foursquare, we want to implement on their own purpose and ideas, it just never worked. And I also think that their publicity was too high. It was too early, which caused their inflated expectations of what was going to happen. They got this $100,000 so that they could work and develop their app, and it just never came together. It never was this successful thing that everyone thought it was going to be. And if we move on to Forecast, that wasn't even better than Hurricane Party. They had all this time, knowledge, and experience to put something into a better product. So they came up with Forecast, and it was barely better looking than Hurricane Party. The application just wasn't different enough. It had so much competition, and it just didn't have the drive to keep pushing it forward. Additionally, the number one failure that any business can make is by not listening to their consumers. If you fail to fix what they see as wrong with the application, why are they going to keep using it? If it crashes, if it doesn't look good, if it doesn't work properly, if you don't work within their time constraints of scheduling parties, then no one's going to continue to use it. Again, with Forecast, not learning from their previous failures, there's no quality marketing. You can't not market your product, no matter how much hype the internet gives you on its own. And I just think above maybe not above all else, but if you're going to have a product that's similar to many others, why not create your own design? The design for both of these apps was very minimalistic and also very based on everything else that exists at the time. While, yes, they may be successful, and so you want to mimic something like that to be pretty on point with the word copycat, I think that you should try to make yourself a little bit more individualistic. Try to at least put your own quirk on your copycat, but both of these applications failed to do these things. So let's wrap this thing up. Hurricane Party and Forecast Social failed for nearly the same exact reasons. And I think that the moral of the story would be, if you create an app, then basically create a copycat to your own app. Don't make them look nearly identical. You will run into problems. And both of these apps ran into their fair share of problems. There are certain ways that both of these apps could have made it work, but they failed to. You gotta follow a bunch of simple rules, and I think that definitely starts with 1, following and listening to your consumer, because you will create a collaborative environment where you can learn through trial and error alongside your consumer about what they need from your app and what you're willing to give to them. Create that simplicity and create transparency between what you're trying to give to someone and what they hope to achieve from it. Because if you can be specific with that idea, which Hurricane Party was specific, it had that motivation, it had that purpose, but it can't be restrictive, whereas Forecast Social and both Hurricane Party were restrictive. They didn't allow people to plan parties or use the application as they wanted to use it, because both of these applications failed to listen to the consumer. That is the number one problem. Especially with the startup, I just don't think that anyone can afford to not listen to what the people have to say. It's for the people. Give them what they want. Maybe the third time can be the charm for this company. Maybe they can pull together all their losses and learn from it, and learn from other people that have gone through situations that are like this. Because I don't think that this was not a good idea. I think that both these applications could have become something big. If they can beat out Uber, if they can beat out Instagram, if they can beat out GroupMe, they had something there. This was not just pure luck. It fit. It had purpose. It was understandable. It was useful. But the two big things, was it better? No. Was it different enough? I don't think so. And was it adaptable? Yes, it was adaptable, but it was adaptable upon someone else's idea. And now we have reached the end of it. I really hope you enjoyed my project as much as I enjoyed researching it and learning all about the crazy things that can happen when you have too much hype and not enough motivation to get the job done.